Hello, hello. Today is April 3rd, 2024. This is SIG Node CI weekly meeting. Welcome, everybody. We are in test phase for 1:30, so likely to be quiet time. And we have a couple agenda items. First, I think first just link to bug dashboard, so we can move it for bug triage. And Dixie, you have a item in agenda.
Yeah, so Anish is running this initiative to help deflake the test grid dashboard. And while we were looking at it, we had a couple of questions. So, Kevin, we removed the CPU manager and memory manager jobs from the serial tests. Was there a reason to do that? Or like removing those jobs, are we going to miss any coverage or are we fine?
Yeah, we talked about this in the last meeting. Generally, we have duplicate coverage of those. We already have existing tests that are they're in the serial lane, but they're just running those device or the manager tests, and they use the right image. While our serial tests, if you looked at a lot of those tests, they were being skipped because they didn't have some of the right NUMA setup. So the idea was that we're getting hit for performance on that serial test, and for the most part, it's not really necessary to have those tests. So we moved them. They are still being covered in the lane of, like, if you look at, we have both pre-submits and periodics that are running these, and they're actually not skipping because they have the right image config.
Okay.
So that's why we moved those out of there.
Okay, sounds good. I just wanted to make sure that there is coverage for that. And the next one, we have tests related to versions queue in SIG Kubelet. Cube ADM stuff. If you see the first couple of tabs in SIG Kubelet, we have some tests related to versions queue. So I wanted to know, like, do we want those tests in that particular tab, and do we have a point of contact for those tests? I think it's related to um, cluster life cycle. And I mean, what's the cadence around those tests? Does anyone know?
Which one did you mean? Kubadum?
Yeah,
This one?
the cube ADM kind of kubelet, the versions Q test, right? These are owned by
I'm sharing my screen. Do you see it? Those
yeah,
ones.
these.
Frankly, I don't know who manages them, but I know that they've been updated all the time, so I just accept their existence. Does anybody
Okay.
know who goes to SIG testing meetings?
Could it be Kubernetes developers?
Oh, you can always check on history, right? So
Okay.
you can get there. This is
Few days ago, some of the test grid dashboard were related to versions queue. They were flaky, and the tests that were flaky, it was not related to SIG node. So how should we triage in that case? Like the tests itself were from SIG API machinery. Should we route it to SIG API machinery in that case, or
there seems to be some robot, right? This robot updates the tests. You see this robot bumps the images,
Yeah.
and this person on the Yang updates Kubernetes for specific versions.
So if we have any issues
Yeah,
around these
there's a
tests,
SIG cluster other sky. So maybe we can just remove them from our dashboard. Let's see which other dashboards they are in. So this is easy to check. We will go into Yeah, missing something here. All right, test grid, that's the name. Dashboard. Yeah, they're in this dashboard.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how they end up in SIG Node or in Kubernetes.
Yeah, that's why we wanted to discuss. So maybe I'll just reach out to the owner of the test and check whether we can remove these from here.
I bet they're already somewhere else, so maybe just duplication.
Okay.
It is, and it's no brainer. Yes.
Okay. Sounds good.
Let's see if we can check it really quickly. Yeah, they're in both dashboards, so you can probably just remove SIG Node
Yeah.
Kubernetes here, and it will be easier.
Okay.
And
Sounds
let's just
good.
keep it in cluster of Kubernetes.
Cluster lifecycle. Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
So just send a PR here to remove all the SIG Node Kubernetes.
Okay. Sure. I'll do that. And
Link?
then, sorry.
Do you need the link in agenda?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for looking into that. I was always just ignoring them, but you're right. We don't want any flakes on Kubernetes page.
Yeah. And then the next one, I think Anish pointed out this to me. The swap serial tests are flaky, but parallel ones are not. So do we want to mark those as flaky? I'm trying to look at.
I mean, I think remember the swap serial tests. All they're doing is running all the serial stuff with a swap enabled node, and so generally our serial jobs are flaky. So that's probably why the swap ones are flaky.
So is it fine that they are flaky, or do we want to move them or add a different label or something?
Honestly, it seems anytime I've tried to mark tests as flaky, it seems to kind of it brings up sort of we're admitting defeat, and people seem not to like that. But also, no one's really. I mean, this pod resources one has been failing for a while. It has been flaky for a while, and if someone wants to look at it and see, I do think marking tests as flaky and moving them to the dedicated lane makes sense, but also it would be nice to eventually not make them be flaky, but it's kind of hard sometimes to fix these.
And also, are they only flaky on swap, or are they also flaky on regular environment?
Yeah, no, that's if you go to like SIG Node Cryo, now that we have this fixed, which is helpful, if you go to the Cryo serial one, yeah, node kubelet, so I mean,
Yeah,
like,
different set of tests that are flaky.
yeah, I mean, we've been tackling these over time. I don't know what's flaky or not. I know the pod resources one. I think I did recognize that being flaky. It's hard to know. Like over time, I'm sure they have failed.
Okay, so at least for now, we'll keep track of this one as flaky, and then see if we have time to figure out why these are flaky.
Yeah, I mean, we see those, and I tend to we know they're flaky. Fortunately, I know that there was a few months ago. I think someone did try to fix that, but we had to revert that change. Actually, it caused failures, like a consistent failure rather than a flake.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, that's all from my end.
Okay. Yeah, Anish, you've been working on this report of what's the state of 130 release with regards to flaky and failing test. Did you get progress on that?
No, not yet.
Okay.
I'll do that in the next.
Yeah, it might be nice to have it before we release 130, so we can present on a regular SIG Node meeting.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Okay, nothing else on this agenda. Let's go into board really quickly. Oh, quickly. It won't be quickly, like 20 items. Let's see if anything related to us. Yeah, this probably it's a test related. So we need to look at it. Some work in progress, work in progress. Yeah, probably need to open a bunch of them. I'll skip work in progress and I'll move them later. Unless you have anything that you want to look at, please let me know. Otherwise, I will just skip them for now. Okay. Many issues. Okay, CNI plugins. I think it's some test infrastructure change that we don't have too much powers here, but it's something we can take a look. Anybody interested? Oh, it's already approved, so just note it's done. Handle container D cryo not found error message. Is it test change?
You can assign that one to me.
Oh, okay. We're already reviewing it.
I did
Oh,
it.
it's already
I
reviewed.
haven't. I haven't looked at it in a while. Did I? Oh, I did maybe actually. Sorry, I forgot. This is kind of a weird one, from what I
Oh, yeah,
remember.
there is a thing.
Yeah, the issue was container RD is they're slowly getting support for checkpointing, and essentially they're getting an RPC call, and if you don't have cryu installed, which is it's a God, I don't know. It's checkpointing, restore, and user space. It's a utility that this feature relies on. And I think we were noticing that that binary is not installed. We get an error, so we're coding on that error. My feeling was I don't like skips and tests. I tend to like either we should get the test, like the infrastructure needed for it, but I think Adrian brought up that we don't really have much say on the cost side around whether or not cryu is installed. So I wasn't really sure on this one.
Yeah, I'm surprised that this error message should look like that. Maybe we need to have something a little bit more structured. Because like one thing is to provide infrastructure, but another thing is to make kubelet and container runtime be a little more explicit of what is happening.
Yeah, I mean the
Something
issue.
that's not supported will be better, I think.
Yeah, it is just I think a test one, but yeah, I don't know. You can I'll look back over it. It's not pressing. It should be something in 1.31 anyway. So
Okay. Yeah, bullet news review, and it's already assigned to me, so I will also take a look. Restarting kubelet should never affect the running workload. Okay, this is a bug. Somehow it get into this dashboard. Failing test? No, not even failing test. I don't know how it ended up here. the array it add test case for structure parameters and deallocation. Okay, this is a to do. Is it assigned to anybody? Okay, it's already been worked on by Patrick. No, it should not be ready when keylog flash daemon. Again, it's a bug. How did it end up here? Wrong dashboard. Fix Kubernetes local E2E job.
Yes, it's me.
Okay.
So there is a zombie container that and there is with a graceful shutdown that creates the problem.
Or is it on a cleanup?
Yeah, so I mean, sometimes they are terminating a container with a graceful shutdown. So since we don't wait here, then it ends the test, and then there is a container lying around, and this is the reason why in the next step it says, okay, there is a container running, the test failed, even if all the tests have passed. So I'm confident this is the root cause.
But after that, we will turn everything down, right? Or you're just saying that some logs will be missing.
It actually, there is a check where in the end it checks in the other tests, which use this one. They say, is there any container running? If there is, it means that there's an error. But
I see.
so it is, I think I have in the commit the picture where shows this.
Is anybody interested to take a look? This already here.
Yeah, I mean, I commented on it. I don't really know much about the cube test. I've always kind of assumed that was, that's not really our area. I mean, so I would probably try to get someone from SIG testing to review.
Okay. If anybody interested in this, please assign yourself. I'll move this needs reviewer for now, and then we'll see if anybody from SIG testing will look at it. Okay, test for structured parameters. Aldo is already assigned. Okay. I am actually really interested in to learn that, so I'll take a look. And it's already approved, so okay, for us it's done. But I'll take a look. Check that the pod is finished before removing the container. Is it a test related? Oh, Anish is here.
That's yesterday.
Oh, yeah, okay. I don't
Yeah, I got some feedback from Clayton yesterday.
shouldn't be in this board. Unless it's no, there is no SIG. Oh, SIG testing.
There's some end-to-end test changes in that one.
Okay. Failure pod resize scheduler test. Okay. Dim self-assigned it. So I will mark this in progress.
Yeah, it looks like the EC2 seems to be the AWS stuff.
Add link to E2E test docs. Beautiful.
Yes, there was a discussion in Slack about it. I think it's a good.
Add coverage test for probe behavior. We discussed it on sidecar working group yesterday. It just needs a reviewer, and I'm already assigned. So if anybody's interested, we adding a lot of test coverage around pod termination because we want to do changes there. E2E clean CPU manager test.
Yeah, this is not I'm changing any code. It's just while in another PR trying to understand the code, I just followed the same pattern I have.
Is it just a refactoring, moving things around?
Yeah, it's, actually it's on. Yeah, I'm just moving it up to be easier to someone to read the code. And there is a discussion with Francesco. I think it's not related to overall improve the CPU manager test. It's only simple.
Okay. Okay, so Francesca is here. Yeah, move it into neat review. Other cluster. NGC alpha enable default. Is it happening all the time?
I haven't checked recently. I can check.
Okay, not problem detector. Okay. I see on the screen. Wow. Okay, it's failing all the time. How did you get to this tab? Is it running on some part of CI?
Yeah, I have pushed a commit for that actually, but now I remembered. I saw in the test that there is this Docker hang, and then if again in this picture I have all the information. Yeah, now I remembered. So it would be nice someone to review it last time.
Okay. Anish, do you want to take a look to understand? Like, I don't know the story of this board, but maybe it's worth checking.
So this is running alpha features. Does this job run alpha features?
I don't know. But I found
The reason I asked because it says named alpha, and I remember Paco had to disable few alpha jobs, evented black feature in alpha jobs for them not to fail. I'm not sure whether this job is also should have been included or he already did it. So you can CC me here. I can sync up with Paco on this.
Yeah, yes. But I think this test, this Docker hung, the proposal is, if it could be moved in the end, I think I don't know, it seems it disturbs the node. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't get. So this job
There
fails,
is,
right? Right now on master.
no, in the comment I have put a PR there, Docker hung. So I think it links with this test. So they are doing a forceful Docker hung, and the idea is just moving it in the end, not to disturb. Yeah, we can take it offline after if you like.
Oh, okay, never mind. I can run this through with Paco also just to see if he has to disable this job as well.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay. Yeah, this is just a test improvement. If anybody, okay. Okay, I will take a look at needs review. It's a long-standing bug, and I just wanted to fix it. Process starts with bid fix.
Yeah, so this one is ready. It includes some changes to the way that Kubelet calculates the stats. So we weren't sure if it would qualify while we're in freeze. So we just kind of deferred on it because it does have test changes, but also has code changes.
Okay.
So it might.
So this is what we
just
discussed
need to
about
wait until.
in the past, right? So about sandbox pause image or process, right?
It was actually a little bit different, but we did talk about it at SIG Node. Like, basically, the problem ended up being that we were relying on a value that the advisor wasn't populating correctly because it was assuming that there was a PID for the sandbox, but it doesn't actually use the sandbox container information for that. It like assumed that there was a process on the sandbox C group level. So we just handle that calculation differently now. Calculated, we sum up the container process count instead.
Yeah, so one of those saying priority important soon, another saying important long term. So I think long term is wins in this case, right? Or you want 130?
I would be fine to pull it into 130, but I think that 131 is probably, safer. So I think it's fine to do it in 131.
Okay.
I mean, one thing I do wonder if it's worth a cherry pick, but I don't, since it's been failing for all of the releases we support, I don't know if the release team would want that.
I mean, basically without this, like, process eviction doesn't work like in cryo, which is like not great.
In container.
So I would also be, and also in container. So like, process level eviction just doesn't work. So like, I would be in favor of backporting it. But we could wait until 130 sort of settles a little bit before advocating for that. I don't think that there's any reason to push really hard that it makes it into 130.0 necessarily.
Okay.
We can add it to the agenda for overall SIG Node to maybe talk more about whether or not we want to go with the cherry pick stage, but I agree with Peter.
Yeah, fix absolute path validation windows. Is it 130 blocking bug?
Yeah, this is the var log one.
Okay, instead of
there's a lot of discussion going on about it. I think they're going to revisit the PR. I think they're realizing it's more complicated to do Windows validation. So
I think it's second attempt to fix it. First was mutating the path. Okay, We're done with test part of a meeting. Unless anything else anybody wants to talk about regarding tests. If not, Anish, do you want to take away the bug triage?
Yeah, let me share my screen. Do we want to go through the dashboard or the one without any priority labels?
Let's try to triage new bugs first, and then we'll try to, if we'll get to assigning priority, we can do that.
Good. Oh, yeah, I don't think this is. Does the dashboard have new bugs? Yeah, I don't think this is a new bug. So this is about the website repo. Specify more precisely all the resource types built into Kubernetes.
It's already triage accepted, and I think it was done by Doc's team. So I would suggest to just move it to accepted folder.
I moved already.
Thank you. You stop sharing, Anish.
Oops. Sorry.
I think we could mark this one as triaged. Looks like Tim is already looking into it.
Is it assigned? Okay.
Wait, maybe not.
I see this icon.
Yeah, this is assigned to Laura. Yeah, this is by Kevin. Okay.
This is what we discussed on the SIG Node meeting, right?
Yeah, you can move it to, I think, I don't know if I'll get around to doing this one anytime soon, but don't know how big of a deal it is. Basically, the problem is eviction manager pulls stats, and and what happens is sometimes those stats fail, and then we'll evict the pod where the stats fail together. And there's not, and that fallback can introduce flakiness, because we're relying on the C advisor always being a valid endpoint and always working. But I don't know how much it is a big deal.
Did you notice why C advisor failed to put stats?
I noticed it happened quite a bit on the split disk stuff, especially on startup. But I mean, I think generally network failures can always occur. And then there's a comment saying that it's by design that if there is a stats failure gather, it will just evict that pod, or it will rank that pod over another one. And so sometimes it could just be that the stats haven't been populated or not in the cache. It's kind of a race.
The way I was thinking about it, what if the pod is or containers are running, that means the C groups exist, and if the C groups exist, the advisor must provide stats. So there's no scope for failure there. So I think it's a fair assumption that not having stats means evict, take some action.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, I get that point, but if it's, I mean, there's a problem where if there's a network glitch or anything like that, you would evict that pod. And I mean, I'm sort of,
Network glitch will not stop C advisor from reporting stats, right?
but it's an API, right? It's an API
No,
call.
C advisor gets all the stats from C groups.
But then aren't we calling a REST endpoint in C advisor?
No, it just traverses the C surface.
C advisor is built into Kubernetes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It will just traverse the C surface.
Well,
so network failure will not have any impact.
no, the C advisor is calling, well, it's calling an info endpoint, but I guess that is built in kubelet. It's calling a REST endpoint to get that information.
It does. So for Cryo, it does call one of Cryo's endpoints. I believe Containerd is similar. It like calls into an endpoint to see like how to gather stats for a specific C group. But that should just be over localhost. So I wouldn't necessarily expect like networking on the node itself to sort of prevent that. I would be surprised by that.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've noticed I was probably looking too hard in the startup logs of kubelet and seeing these failures. And then sometimes I was seeing, like, especially for the split file system case, that I was seeing that the stats were not quite gathered there on the first round of a kubelet eviction. And seeing that over time they were, but it also could have been I was running very short. I was running like a DD in a pod that was really quick. And sometimes the stats were not quite there, and evictions would happen. But I didn't see it as much in main eviction tests. So we can chalk it to me looking into that one for the split file system case.
Yeah, I mean, it could be with a short-lived container, the C advisor failing to gather the stats on the C groups because the C groups in the container comes up quickly and then drops quickly. So it could like just be racing with the kernel tearing down the C groups like once the container is removed. I could maybe see that.
Yeah, I'll look into that more when I'm working on the split file system stuff. I was not able to get the end-to-end test from 1.30 due to a cryo issue with container storage. So the end-to-end tests are on pause until 1.31.
Yeah, the next issue in the dashboard is this kubelet fails to restart with CPU manager policy static when nodes CPU is offline. I think they have a repro as well.
Yeah, this is not super surprising. The kubelet is generally not very good at responding to changes in the resources on a node. So if a CPU is taken offline, then, you know, I'm not surprised that it's still like, it's not like watching the resources on the node and changing its like internal structures when something changes, like you can't hot plug memory or CPU or anything like that. I understand why this would be a failure case, but I also wonder if this is just a design decision that we've made and not updated, where we just say like the kubelet's understanding of the resources is static, and you have to restart the kubelet if something like this happens. And it would take more work and like enhancement work. I mean, there is already a KEP open for like dynamic hot plugging of stuff. And so I think that this would fall under that of like, how do we make sure that the kubelet responds to dynamic changes of resources on the node? And do we even want that to happen?
Yeah, in this particular case, I think the only way to resolve this is to drain the node, otherwise checkpoint file will just stuck to the CPU. So I wonder if we need a little bit better instructions, maybe like documentation, or maybe a little bit of feature like recalculate checkpoint or something like that.
Oh, I totally missed that this is restart. Yeah, yeah.
In OpenShift, we remove that state file whenever the kubelet restarts to clean.
So
the
we're
slate.
actually talking about no longer doing that. There's a PR open to make it only on reboots.
Yeah, maybe
But when you remove this checkpoint file, then on restart, you may end up failing to admit pods, right? Because if they admit in different order, you may fail to assign CPUs to those pods.
Or even worse, or maybe not worse, another problem that comes up is even the CPUs that are like for containers that are currently running and the kubelet inherits, it has a different idea of the CPUs. So it like recalculates and like it'll disrupt workloads because they'll have to like change CPUs and it interrupts sort of their
It's
CPU
already running
affinity.
its inverse, yeah. So I think it's more of a bug. This particular bug is more of a bug than feature request, right?
I think that it is. I think we do still sort of run into the problem of like, I think it's still related to hot plugging though, because like, how should the kubelet respond if there are running containers that are attached to CPUs that it then realizes are offline on a restart? That still kind of reads as a hot plugging situation to me. Even though like the kubelet was off while the CPU was put offline, we have to the way that we'd react is similar to the kubelet handling this while it was running.
So you know what information I'm missing here is what kubelet will advertise as a not available CPUs when it's offline. Will it recalculate available and fail to admit one of the pods because of requests exceeding the what's available?
Maybe, but the container is already admitted, right? Like if the container is actively running and the kubelet doesn't restart it, like how would it handle that? As I don't think it can like unadmit a pod.
It can evict it, but I don't know.
Guess, yeah,
you're right. Yeah. So I guess this piece of information I'm missing. Like if kubelet treats this offline CPU as non-existing resource, and it will evict regular CPU request, like a regular pod that just request CPU without any policy, then we need to deal somehow with this on CPU policy as well.
To me, this seems like a feature because there's this very clear error saying like the node doesn't have the CPUs that are related to my state file, delete the state file and restart. So it seems like this was an intentional design decision to make it not handle this, right?
I think nobody just paid attention to the situation. Maybe what needs to happen is this pods are assigned to this CPU needs to be evicted.
Yeah, it does kind of feel that way.
Because I have a feeling that regular CPU assignment without CPU policy, we will detect that CPU is offline and recalculate available memory. I mean, it's kind of side effect of how Kubernetes works. And then we'll evict one of those just randomly. So I think in this case, we probably need to evict ones assigned to offline CPU.
Is the CPU manager able to inform eviction right now? Do we have that data path?
I have not seen anything like that.
I would be surprised if it did, considering we have these problems, but
Yeah, because I think CPU throttles, right, does not necessarily mean you're out of it. Like I never seen anything called like CPU pressure.
In this case, it's not even CPU, like the native resource of CPUs that the kubelet advertises is not being managed by the CPU manager. The CPU manager is like managing access to full CPUs like via CPU sets rather than CPU weight and in this group. So it wouldn't even be related to throttling necessarily. It's like more of a compressible resource of
yeah, but when
compressible
there
resource
is
of
static
like the
policy, it's
CPUs
not
available.
compressible any longer.
Yes.
I think what you're saying, and I agree with you, that eviction is not a path that exists today. So even if we will say that it's a bug and needs to evict, it's still a feature request.
Yes, exactly. That's my point.
Okay, yeah, I agree with you on that. So maybe Anish, if you can assign kind feature and remove kind bug. And I think what we argue about is as a way to fix it and urgency of it, like how much it needs to be expected. This behavior is because I can see how it may be happening on some edge workloads, like if you're running some hardware and you want to save some electricity, you just offline the CPU. And ideally, you want everything to start to bootstrap, and then maybe some posts not being available.
Even then, though, that would read as a not very urgent thing because the response from us could be like, don't do that. The resources on a node should be static from the perspective of the kubelet restart.
Would be nice to link the cap if you are referring to it.
Yeah, can you CC me? I'm at Hair Commander, and I can give more sort of context on the discussion we had, and I'll link the cap as well once I dig it up.
Do we have a cap for that already?
It's not
yeah.
specifically related to this, but I believe there is a cap related to hot plugging and like CPU
Okay.
and memory and having it respond to that, and it's like related to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to, oh, I'm sorry. I have two issues I wanted to bring up at the very, just like, I know they're in this backlog. I just want to cover them.
Yeah.
this is one where I think we already traced it to an issue with CRI Docker D around. I don't think they have support for swap. The person actually did do a quick test. They've been very responsive with testing this with container RD, and everything's fine with CRI Docker D. It's not. So we filed an issue on CRI Docker D's repo, but I don't know if it's, I don't know what our policy is on support for CRI Docker D.
Historically, we have basically deferred support. Like we do support it insofar as like it's a, you know, it's a CRI implementation, but because there are no CRI Docker D maintainers that regularly attend SIG Node, like we're not gonna devote very much more than the best effort support of it. It's really up to the CRI Docker D community to sort of support their users.
All right. Yeah, if we want to go ahead and, I don't know what we consider with this. We could close it since it's in the CRI Docker D repo, and hope that maybe one of them gets to it.
Yeah, I would say like, you know, we can close it because it's an issue with a specific CRI implementation, and it should be up to that community to support it. Like similarly, if there was an issue with cryo alone, it wouldn't really be the responsibility of the Kubernetes issue tracker to keep it. Like it would be made into a cryo issue.
Yep, I agree. All right, yeah, I think that's good. Hey, look, we closed it. We closed a bug.
Hooray.
This is an interesting one. I actually asked this author to come to SIG Node to talk more about it, especially now that it seems like last one there were more people talking about probes and stuff, but they were, yeah, I just want to bring it up because I think it's an interesting one, but I don't really have a great idea of what the solution would be on this one, but basically I think the gist of this one is they have really long grace periods, like an hour in the order of hours for their probes, and they're finding that it's blocking, I guess, the kubelet eviction, and then they're running out of resources for the other pods because it's blocking. And they've tried to have PRs to fix it, but I've tried to ask them to come to SIG Node to actually discuss this one, because from what I think Clayton was saying, this may not really be supported.
We still have that bug of the graceful termination on evictions, when it should probably be doing an immediate eviction too.
Yeah, I mean, this is one where I think it sounds like their probes are taking on the order of hours. Like they want like a graceful shutdown of pods, and then they have them waiting for, like, their soft one they say is like 7 hours, and then it's essentially blocking, waiting for evictions, but they have other pods hitting the resources. So they want to kind of start evicting the other ones in the list.
Yeah, I think it does make sense to discuss this because the, you know, as you mentioned, like Clayton basically said, like, we're not even sure if we should be allowing for graceful termination in an eviction case. Like maybe the kubelet should be more aggressive with, you know, just like similar to how the Linux kernel doesn't really care about which process is taking up a lot of memory, but in an interest of saving the node itself, it like will just kill a process that's using a lot. Similarly, like the kubelet could take a similar stance. And it seems like Clayton is implying that that might be what we should be doing.
Yeah, I mean, I asked her to come to, I think she added herself to the agenda and was going to come to the next one to kind of talk about this, because I know that she's been kind of resolving a couple of these issues and bringing them up to date. So
Okay. Yeah, it feels like a bug indeed. Okay.
Should I mark this as accepted? I think we have already done that.
Yeah, please type triage accepted as well. Okay, with that we're out of time. Appreciate all your time and thank you everybody. Bye.